Funds in Canberra in the northwest region of the country have almost become internally displaced persons as a result of the increasing crisis rocking not just the northwest region but the southwest region of the country. In this newscast, we shall be taking you to the northwest, precisely in Canberra. And away from that, the commission in charge of multiculturalism and the bilingualism in the country seems to be sleeping for over months now. They have been asked to wake up from slumber. These are the top stories. More in just a jiffy. Good evening and welcome on this other edition of the news on Equinoxe Television. We take you right away when we start in the northwest region of the country, where funds and traditional rulers of Canberra, precisely in the northwest region of the country, are living more or less like internally displaced persons in that part of the country. This with respect to the escalating crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Visiting the people, the divisional officer calls on them to take action and be in your respective post of duties. We have details with you, Armstrong for Misanda.
Before rounding up the final lap of his 2 weeks contact tour in Canberra town, the divisional officer from Canberra Central Subdivision visited Mbod, Binshwa, Kungi and Konche villages.
Going to some of these villages is very difficult, taking into consideration the nature of the terrain. But by the special grace of God and the support I've had from my collaborators as well as the population at large, it is a huge success. At
the Mbod Funds Palace, the divisional officer was received by the local population and village traditional authorities in the absence of His Royal Highness the Fon of Mbod. Mbod village, the gateway into Canberra Central Subdivision, has been hard hit by the Anglophone crisis. The divisional officer told the population that he would have been more satisfied if he met the Fon of Mbod. His entourage was, however, satisfied with the turnout in Mbod, given the effects of the Anglophone crisis on the roadside village. In Binshwa village, it was a mammoth crowd of school kids, youths, parents and traditional stakeholders that answered present at the Funds Palace. The people of Binshwa in songs, traditional displays and messages welcomed and channeled their concerns to the divisional officer. The Fon of Binshwa, reports say, was absent because of ill health. From Binshwa to Kungi, the divisional officer was received by a cross-section of Kungi villagers at the Kungi Funds Palace. Kungi, another border village, has also recorded series of attacks and violence within the over 3 years Anglophone crisis, and the Fon of Kungi, displaced by the crisis, is yet to return to his village. He was absent during the visit of Mr. Ngida Lawrence, Joe from Canberra. From Kungi, the divisional officer moved to Konche, another hard-hit village whose Fon, displaced by the crisis, is yet to return. Konche villagers used the opportunity to present their worries to the administrative official, even in the absence of their Fon. To the absentee Fons, the divisional officer left a message.
I will tell the Fons that their people feel abandoned by them. Their people are craving for them to come back. All is well in their villages. The time is now.
Mr. Ngida Lawrence Chair rounded up his tour in Canberra town, headquarters of Canberra Central Subdivision.
Well, my message to the 17 villages centered on peace and meaningful development efforts that the government have been making to resolve the crisis in our region and in our subdivision. Importance of my people to participate in upcoming elections. The need for all our children to be back in the classrooms, especially in those villages around the ward zone. That for a while now, schools have been timidly functioning. It equally centered on cleanup campaign. It equally touched on the relationship between the native communities and Fulani, as well as the relationship between the people the forces of law and order, and the administration.
At the Nkambe Fons Palace, the duo was thrilled with a mix of Wimbo culture of Nkambe Central Subdivision. Mr. Ngida Lawrence Chair says the next phase of his visit will take him to the 7 ardorates within his area of command.
And from one region to another, we move over to the central region of the country, where inhabitants of Bankolo, we are in Yaoundé, central region of Cameroon, have called on local administrators to address a land palaver which is affecting them back there. They expressed their grief via a peaceful walk, as you tell us, Smart Jikan Gabriel.
With their last energy, the inhabitants of Mbankolo in Yaoundé 2 subdivision say they will fight for what rightfully belongs to them.
We have been in this quarter for more than 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and there are some people that have been here for 40 years, 50 even, and we grew up here from primary school up to this my age now. I'm 36 years old and I grew in this quarter, and they have started breaking this quarter since from 2003 up to date, and they are still coming again. They are pushing us gradually. Every day they come. This year they come with different alternatives. This year they come every day. Me, Stanley, I'm a citizen of Cameroon. Everybody is a citizen of Cameroon. Now I'm asking Cameroonians that if you are Cameroonian and you're asking us Cameroonians to leave our quarter, where do you want us to go to?
The inhabitants of Mbankolo were on a peaceful demonstration in the street of Yaoundé 2 this Friday because they felt cheated by an enterprise charged with the construction of roads in the neighborhood.
I left the village since.
Dr. Ntachi, an inhabitant of Mbankolo Quarter, says it's in the neighborhood he got married and gave birth to over 20 children, and he has been there for more than 20 years.
I bought all the land and paid all the money. It was legally paid. Today they say they want to send us away. We don't know where to go. Even in my village, the handover burned my compound. I don't have any other place to go apart from being here forever.
He adds that
people should not use their millions to manipulate people. Those poor people will still live. Poor people are everywhere. People should go elsewhere and buy land and construct houses. Not that you should come and push innocent people away and just giving them a token. If we have anything like arrangement, we have to sit, 2 of us, and discuss about my compound. Not that you come with your money, you go and buy big people, you go and bribe all over that you want to send people away. There's never a day that we can leave this land. It's our compound, and we are Cameroonian also.
The angered inhabitants are protesting because, according to them, a presidential decree gave instruction for a road to be constructed, and the company was supposed to take 8 meters from each compound. Unfortunately, the said company months later came and cut off 15 meters, and several months later they returned to reduce another 20 meters. What caused the people to protest?
We don't have peace in our own country. Even here in Yaoundé, there's no peace. Back in our own country, there's no peace. And what do you really want us to do? That's why we are out today to cry, so people can help us, because it's too much.
The ongoing construction of the roads in this locality has also left some residents at risk, with houses just hanging. As the population awaits for a solution to be found, they have vowed to remain hostile against illegal land exploitation, but remains patriotic to their nation, Cameroon.
And from the central region of the country, we move down to the southwestern region of Cameroon with this images in a brief. Activities are already on high gear, and this ahead of the National Youth Day scheduled on the 11th of February. As it is on a yearly basis, educationists in the southwestern region have begun holding preliminary meetings ahead of the National Youth Day, irrespective of the high tension rocking the English-speaking regions of the country. In the following extract, some key actors of the respective regional delegations of education affirm preparative activities are on a good footing. Let's take a listen.
Tradition holds. We're here to start preparing for the National Youth Day. So the main objective of this meeting was to map out the means, the activities, and the venues where the activities which have been programmed for the region will take place.
We are moving from problem youth to active youth, so it's like bringing the youth together to see how we can solve the problems that the youth have. It's only through the youth that they can bring out, through sensitization campaigns, through training workshop, awareness workshops, through peaceful initiation activities.
And we'll talk something else, but we stay in the school milieu while reprimanding some school heads to make good use of the state subventions to ensure they give facelift to their respective schools across the 10 regions of the country. The Minister of Secondary Education, Dr. Nalovo Lyonga, on an impromptu visit in the city of Douala yesterday, has invited school heads to put in place surveillance cameras to address the situation of delinquent acts in school. Here is an extract of the minister.
Cutlasses, all those things are coming from where? They're coming from the homes. Some of the parents have abandoned the control of their children. The parents should not give up because the schools cannot take the place of the parents. So there is a problem. And the problem of security, the first thing is that there must be surveillance cameras.
And on the minister's outing yesterday in the littoral region of the country, hopefully we shall be receiving a guest to talk a lot more about the school milieu in just a few minutes. Away from that, the commission in charge of bilingualism and multiculturalism, since it has been put in place in Cameroon, seems to be sleeping. In a recent meeting, they have been called to wake up from slumber, as you tell us, Innocent Azay.
The National Bilingualism and Multiculturalism Commission, during its first session for 2020, examined its budget for the year and how it will be adequately managed.
Je vous invite à examiner ce budget qui se chiffre à 2 milliards.
The budget, which stands at 2,980,000,000 francs CFA, is expected to be used with satisfactory results.
Depuis l'exercice 2018, dans le domaine de la gestion des finances publiques.
The period of grace, the commission head says, is over, emphasizing it is time for seriousness and all actors must respect rules and regulations of the commission so as to move forward.
Si en 2019, la commission
that all what was tolerated in the previous years will no longer be contained this 2020 for better records and performances.
Il n'en sera plus de même pour l'exercice 2020 et c'est à venir.
This engagement was re-echoed during a ceremony to grant New Year wishes to the President of the National Commission for Bilingualism and Multiculturalism.
Cette cérémonie qui se tient à l'aube de l'année nouvelle est une occasion unique pour vous de nous donner les grandes orientations.
Amongst the engagements made is need to respect the law, promoting the English and French languages.
C'est une boussole qui nous est donc donnée.
According to Peter Mafani Musonge, a campaign will be launched to sensitize Cameroonians to respect the law in order to strengthen bilingualism in the country.
Qui va nous aider à promouvoir le bilinguisme, à le renforcer dans notre pays.
And that does it for National News. Up next, Talking Point. Welcome back, and we told you we obviously had an extract of Minister of Secondary Education, Dr. Nalovo Lyonga, who was coming back on the need to put in place surveillance cameras across the school milieu to address the aspect of juvenile delinquent acts in schools recurrent at this recent days. We have a guest right here with us, Mr. Talaful. You are a teacher. Welcome on Talking Point.
Thank you, Emin. And I thank you to have invited me.
First things First things first, thank you for accepting our invitation. You've listened to the minister's outing yesterday in Douala, and obviously you are abreast with news on the National Triangle. This with respect to what is ongoing in schools. This week has been a very, very hot week in schools.
Yes, in fact, I've listened to the minister speak, and I've gotten news from echoes, and equally what I have to comment, particularly the intervention of the minister is very important, which means that the minister has a vision for the education family in Cameroon, and we are in the field to accompany the minister in this vision, so as to impact knowledge to the young Cameroonians. The recommendations made by the minister are not bad. They are just in a bit to help and equally to ameliorate the conditions in which teachers and students are living in the education system. I think that if we are going to take what the minister have said, it is equally going to bring some changes in the education system, because parents might not really know the use of the surveillance cameras. We know it, and the surveillance camera is not just to take yashika and hang and then to capture some images and some acts. But surveillance camera, it will take a lot of budget, and if the government is able to put that budget, then you should be able to back it, because it shouldn't be to go an extra mile, because education already in Cameroon these days, parents are crying because just to pay the school fees.
It's quite tedious.
It's quite tedious, and if you want to add some money again for the surveillance camera, because those cameras have to be maintained at all times, because they have to take images, they have to take sounds, and they have to at least store it in all its electrical system.
And there is need for a control system.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. That is not that it does not just end there. Mm-hmm. But we accept it. If we accept it, then the government should make provisions to see that at least that is done without putting parents to go an extra mile.
Now, Mr. Talafo, what's your general appreciation of the school milieu as it's now? If we have to do a sort of comparison between school today and school yesterday.
In fact, teacher, I can say that it is day and night. Okay. Yes, the school today, I am not ashamed to say this, neither I am afraid to say it. Parents today, because they have so much involved themselves in the working sector, they have not been able to handle the education of their children up to the task, to a level where the student will be able to feel that, no, my father or my mother is doing this to foster my education. And equally, the students too, on their part, are so lax. There is absolutely no discipline in our schools today. Can you imagine that in our days, when you are in the quarter, maybe during weekend, and you hear that your teacher is around your house, you take to your heels, and you don't even, if you have to greet the teacher, you stand from a distance and you wave. You say, "Good afternoon, sir. Good evening, sir." But today, students argue with their teachers, they talk out with their teachers, and even go with their teachers in bars.
Maybe because the teachers stoop low to the students.
Well, that is your opinion, but it can equally be that way, because not every teacher, but equally that the training from the home have a lot to play in the life of the child throughout his or her education.
Meaning the discipline in school, you blame it on the parents?
About 80% go back home.
Okay.
that parents do not really discipline their children, because I see that it is impossible for me to teach a child that I cannot discipline. I will discipline a child and the parent will become a tyrant, want to, who beat my pikin, who said that teacher day, with this and that, and in front of the child, you are enticing the child.
Meaning, Mr. Talaful, you say discipline is the responsibility of the parents, and teaching, giving the students the knowledge in a classroom, that's the responsibility of a teacher. Is that what we should boil down?
No, if we boil down like that, it will be so syncretic.
Okay.
I want to say that disciplining and educating the child involves two people,
okay,
which begins from the home. That is why when in about how many years ago that they changed from national education to basic education, I thought that the name basic education was intended that education should start from the house before it will come to school. And starting from the house, the father is neither a teacher nor a counselor. The father is just a parent and a coordinator with the teacher. And so it is the matter of the teacher and the parent to partner in order to educate the child. It is not the work of one person, at least.
And now, within the school milieu, is there no need to have departments strictly in charge to discipline kids?
Thank you for that question. There are various departments. In a school, we have the principal, I mean in the case of the secondary school. We have the principals, we have the discipline masters, we have the dean of studies, you have other academicians, but everybody is playing his or her part. And in cases of discipline, there is a whole discipline committee that takes care of that. There are equally in some schools when deemed by the school promoters to have a guardian counselor.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the role of a guardian counselor?
The guardian counselor is is a person or a group of people or a group of educators intending to bring children back to themselves. Okay. They counsel them in their academics to be able to master their field, their area of studies, and equally to bring them, to give them good morals, and to make them be identified, identify themselves in the school, in the quarter, and that is what I say, good morals.
Meaning today we have guidance counselors in schools who have failed.
I cannot kill them or accuse them that they have failed, because with the guidance counselors, it is intended to work with mostly with the parent.
Okay.
Sometimes you have your daughter who is to pass through discipline, and we need you, so that at least we work together to see from which dimension we can be able to achieve that. You don't have time. I don't send my pikin for teacher. They call me. Should I become a teacher? And so those are some of the challenges that the guardian counselors are facing, and even the teachers and some of the school promoters.
Now, is there any possibility to gain back some of those kids who go offhand in schools? It's like the number keeps increasing. We had cases in Obala this week. We had the case last year at Lycée de Daido, Government Bilingual High School of Daido. We had this recent case in Knife, which was discovered in the bag of a student right here in Douala yesterday by the minister herself while she was visiting on impromptu some of the schools in the littoral. Is there any possibility to win back some of those missing souls in this young generation?
I thank God for you, because you used that statement, missing souls, because the Bible says that where there is no discipline, the people perish. And there is a possibility. Everything with God is possible. And equally, if we as stakeholders, we as parents, we as teachers come back and sit on the table to dialogue and to look at strategies and some of the challenges that are plaguing the education, the family life, and others, we can be able to bring the children back. You will have time to discipline your child, to make your child be able to identify what is good from and what is bad. You will make your child to know that to insult another person, that person is just like you. It is not correct. It is not good. And to make your child to know that to steal or to take something that does not belong to you is a bad thing. And so if parents are honest enough, and if teachers are honest, and if students too respect themselves and take to the instructions and to the discipline of their parents and of the teachers, and then I think that there will be a way forward.
And what's your personal experience, given that you always hold in the piece of chalk in the classroom to obviously canalize some of these young Cameroonians, the leaders of tomorrow? What's your technique in the classroom? Maybe some teachers are watching and they want to gain and pick up some of these techniques.
You mean I am laughing because in the school where I am the senior dean of studies today, I have about 4 teachers that are my children that I taught. And I am glad that they have come to spur me up. And my experience, to me, I always say that the Bible, what the Bible says, that we should not spare the rod and spoil the child. I am of that opinion. Yes, if I don't want to pretend that there is nothing. Even in the school, when things are going wrong, I start disciplining from my own children because they are schooling in my school. And then I set them as an example so that if something have to go wrong, it should not be from you. At least people and other people's children should take a copy, a good example from my own children. And that is what, to me also, I do everything possible to see that I discipline children, not just because they only need discipline, but making a way to bring them in the responsible way. Because there are some of them, before the year runs out, they will get married. There are some of them, before the year runs out, they will get jobs. And so if we don't give them a sense of responsibility as from now, then we are equally failing. And so it is important that parents, that is one of the work, the duties of the guardian counselor, to bring our students to identify their skills that are in them. Because there is no child that was born empty
or stubborn.
Okay. Everything they copy, everything, it is through imitation. And so if we are able to put that down and to bring them to close to us, then it is going to help us very greatly in our duties.
And without leaving out, you're teaching in a school where you have a good number of internally displaced children from the English-speaking regions of the country. How are you preparing to dash out this 2019-2020 academic year? Most of them are taking examinations. How are you managing these children who some are traumatized, in quotes?
I mean, this is a very pathetic situation because I can say that in my school I have 12 who are going in for O-level, ordinary level, and I have 7 who are going in for advanced level. And in the junior classes from 1 to 4, I have about also 12.
Okay.
So in fact, I want to say that our work has not been made easy. It is not just easy because just what I have gone through now, right now as I'm talking to you, my principal is in the center to treat their forms. Some of the forms are rejected, some of them do not have ID card, some of them do not have birth certificate. Yesterday and today, I almost wanted to call you to postpone this appointment because it has not been easy. I left, you called me yesterday, I was just from the police station to establish some of their identity cards. Still yet, I didn't succeed to go through.
It's been tough.
It's been tough. And now, with them, when you go to the police station, the procedures are the same. I went right up to the court. No consideration. Until I met a commissioner. The commissioner gave me an appointment. We went right up to the DO. The DO, he told me, mon frère, professeur, je n'ai pas de choix puisque je n'ai reçu aucune consigne.
Meanwhile, there is a ministry given the impression that it's on the field to facilitate integration in respective localities in Cameroon for the internally displaced persons.
Maybe there are special people for that. Okay. I've been to the police, about 3 police stations. I've been to the court. Okay. They told me that even if you see, if I see the president of the court, it will not change anything because there is no further instructions in relation to that. I said, but these are special cases. These children have been in the house for more than 3 years, and now we are struggling at least that they should possess these papers. Yet the procedure becomes so tense.
How do you foresee the few days coming up? Is there any possibility for the situation to be resolved and having them in your respective examination halls?
The closing date is already at hand. Okay. And although I am working, I am just praying God that the ministry should extend the dead limit.
To handle those special cases?
To handle particularly those special. This is my cry. Okay. That the ministry should do everything possible because there are so many students out there who have not been registered. So either some of them, they do not have the money.
The IDPs?
The IDPs, we are talking about the IDPs. Okay. Yes, we have, among those that I have in my school, some of them were being sponsored by some churches. Okay. And some were being sponsored by some persons of goodwill. Yeah. Yeah, and the school has a special program for them. So at least to cut down their own school fees because they don't pay the same amount of money. And so with this, but we are still crying that the government, the Ministry of Education should facilitate things for these children at least to go in for these exams.
Thank you so much, Mr. Talaful. You are a teacher by profession. Thanks for accepting our invitation.
I thank you to have invited me.
Okay. Thank you so much, listeners out there and viewers. We'll meet you again. Have a lovely weekend. We'll meet you on Monday, same time, same vessel. That does it.